Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. Well, in past episodes of A Moment in History, we've explored at great length the Americans in World War II, the most destructive war in human history. It was a war won on the backs of courageous men who answered the call to protect freedom by taking up arms no matter the cost, as their forefathers in the Civil War and the Revolution had done before them. But we must not forget the impact on the victory in World War II that the average civilian also had. Truth be told, there were countless jobs and duties fulfilled by civilians, both overseas and on the home front, that were instrumental to the victory. Let's explore this vital contribution to the war effort made by a civilian corps of steadfast workers in World War II. Now, the first sphere of this group was the Civilian Defense Corps, created in 1941 by President Franklin Roosevelt in response to the countless air raids by the Luftwaffe on civilian populations in Europe, particularly in England with the Battle of London in 1940. Now, keep in mind, this was before the U.S. officially entered World War II. Recruitment was open to anyone, laborers, housewives, even children, so long as they were able-bodied and of sound mind. But it was not only military defense, a sound infrastructure was also necessary for the war effort. Now, historians believe that World War II was actually the main catalyst that jolted the struggling American economy in the 1930s out of the Great Depression. And indeed, with hundreds of thousands of young men signing up for duty, millions of jobs opened up. Some numbers indicate that well over 15 million new jobs were created in America during the war years. This would have included weapons, tank, aircraft, and shipment manufacturing, mail sorting, creating and supplying goods to the military overseas, and even collecting scrap metal. Now, in a complete contrast to the bleak outlook of the 1930s, America in the war years was largely full of a spirit of optimism, and part of this was certainly the geographical advantage we held over the European counterparts with two oceans to protect us, but another part was indeed this economic regeneration of sorts that brought countless citizens back into the workforce. Furthermore, the country kind of all agreed that regardless of duty, location, or class status, the Axis needed to be stopped and that citizens were willing to do their part to make it happen. They had a common purpose, and that purpose was virtuous and meaningful. Sure enough, this team effort contributed to an American victory in the war in 1945, and as an added bonus, the country then entered a generation-long economic boom in one of its most prosperous times in the decades immediately following the war. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.